Hey, hello everyone. How have you been? Hope you're doing great and you're enjoying 40 days of JavaScript. Today, the day 37, we will be learning about web APIs. But not only learning about web APIs, we'll also see the working of it and where in your development lifecycle you can make use of them. Or rather, why should you worry about learning about web API at all? So first, let's check what I have for you from the syllabus. First, we learn about what are web APIs, how web APIs work, and then some of the core APIs we are going to talk about like DOM, events, timer, fetch, console, copy, storage, geolocation, notification, eyedropper, and hundreds more. If I have to teach you all the web APIs sitting here today, probably it's going to take a few months, but we'll make sure that we'll give you a good starting point and show you the examples of some of the core and crucial web APIs that you can make use in your project, and then how to go about it and how to pick up from there. That's what we're going to spend some time on. And finally, we are going to see an open source project. And if you have never contributed to any of the open source project, here is your time where you can definitely contribute to an open source project if you learn from this particular session. So stay tuned. Excited about it? Me too. Let's get started. But before that, as usual, if you are a subscriber and supporter of tapaScript already, thank you very much. Thank you. You're really, really awesome. If you are not, it doesn't take much to subscribe to tapaScript because here you get in-depth understanding of any concept related to programming that I pick up for teaching you. It is JavaScript today. Tomorrow it could be anything, could be React design pattern, could be programming with AI. So why waiting? Please subscribe, join the script. Let's get started with our understanding of what are web APIs. So we learned about JavaScript. We learned about JavaScript from the core. But we need to understand that JavaScript alone may not be sufficient for doing a lot of functionalities that we as a user would like to see in the application that we are dealing with. For example, if you want to copy to clipboard, some text you want to copy to clipboard, or you want the camera access of your devices, or you want to store certain things in your browser storage, you want to detect users location, or you want to send certain kind of notification message on your browser. There could be a variety of things. If you're using any of these applications like Google Meet, Zoom, you share your desktop, isn't it? How about broadcasting a message just like you can do on WhatsApp? How you build those functionalities with the help of JavaScript plus something that your browser gives you. Yes, those something that browser gives you are nothing but the web APIs that we are talking about. So JavaScript has got some core features, but outside of that, browser also expose certain interfaces of the APIs that using JavaScript you can utilize to build certain features that are not available directly into JavaScript as its core feature. But you can utilize those APIs that browser provides you and can access those features for building a better application. Some of the features just now I told, for example, notification manager or camera access or copying to clipboard or getting the geolocation, the drag and drop. All these things are possible using web APIs. If you think, okay, this is something new that you're thinking about that you can do with JavaScript, don't go further. There are things like DOM, right? We have learned about DOM in a module completely, or console.log. All these things are web APIs because these are all browser specific things. DOM is never part of JavaScript. DOM is an implementation that is done using JavaScript, what we have learned in this 40 days of JavaScript. Similar DOM implementation can be found in Python as well. Okay, so DOM is not part of JavaScript. DOM is something, an API, a web API given by your browser. Using JavaScript, you can access and can work on it. Similarly, you want to do a color chooser or the color selector like an eyedropper. Yes, that's also possible using JavaScript and the web API and build something cool along with it. So this is what is web API is about. I hope this is clear to you. Let's understand how web APIs work. Your JavaScript code runs on browser. And what runs your JavaScript code? Of course, JavaScript engine like V8 for Chrome or Node.js or maybe SpiderMonkey for Firefox. These are the JavaScript engines that helps running JavaScript. In your JavaScript code, let's say there is a browser feature or the web API call. For example, for fetching data, the fetch is a web API. We had a session on fetch. Remember, fetch is a web API. Updating the DOM. DOM itself is a web API. We have a module on DOM. We have learned about it. Or copying on clipboard, getting a video. getting the audio, speech recorder, camera access, all these things. Some of these things we are going to see it in this video, like how to create it. But let's say your JavaScript code wants to use one of this browser feature. That is what we call a web API. So it calls a web API. This is what the arrow signifies, that it is calling a web API. Now, what web API does? Browser provides these web APIs. These are not part of JavaScript itself. When a JavaScript call a web API like fetch, set timeout, geolocation, clipboard, etc., the requests are handled by browser, not by the JavaScript engine itself. This is the biggest difference. So a fetch call, a copy to clipboard call, access to your camera, all these things are not handled by the JavaScript engine. Those will be handled by browser, because those web APIs are browser's implementation web API that browser exposed, so that using JavaScript you can access that and can work on it. Okay, and these APIs are often asynchronous. I don't have to explain again what is synchronous versus asynchronous. We had a module where we discussed elaboratively what is asynchronous. So these web APIs are usually asynchronous. Now, what browser does? The browser will start the task for that web API. For example, if it is a fetch call, it is going to start the task for the fetch. If it is a set timeout, another web API, it is going to start the set timeout. If it is set interval, it is going to do the task for set interval. And it will wait until that task is finishes. That's how the asynchronous thing, right? It will wait, but it is never ever hold the JavaScript's main thread, because as we told, these things are never get executed in the JavaScript engine. These are all browsers thing. So your JavaScript engine's main thread is never getting hold by any of this execution. It means that you are getting asynchronousness even when your browser is waiting for this calls to get completed. Once the wait is over, it has to handle some way or notify JavaScript saying that, hey, my task is done. Now here is the output, you can take over. That's what been done using callback functions. And we have learned about queues already, isn't it? In the event loop chapter. So there will be task queue, there will be job queues, all this. In task queues, callback goes, we also call it as callback queue. In job queues, which what goes? Handler functions from the promises goes. We have learned all these things, right? So let's imagine very high level that then we have these queues, a task queue or a job queue. Once the web API finishes, it sends the callback to the task queue or the handler function if promises involved to the job queue. Then the queue holds that callbacks waiting to be executed, but they don't get run immediately. From the event loop session only, we have learned that. And who is the master there? The master there is somebody called an event loop. In its every iteration, it is going to see there is something called call stack, whether the call stack is empty or not. If it is empty, then using its own algorithm is going to pull a function from the callback queue or a function from the job queue and pull that inside the callback to execute it. We have learned this one already in our event loop session. But now we are connecting the dots. Once the web API call finishes, JavaScript engine has to be notified because it has to do something right with it. If there is a fetch call happen, once the response is received, JavaScript engine has to do something with that response. Maybe it might have to do a computation of array, it might have to do a computation with objects, something that JavaScript engine might want to do. If you're doing a copy to clipboard, and then with the copied text, you might want to do something in your JavaScript engine. For that, you might have to execute a function. So all this thing has to happen. For that purpose, the web APIs, the browser need to notify to JavaScript engine, and that is where it will put its callbacks appropriately either in the task queue or job queue. And event loop, as we know, when is each iteration going to check whether the call stack is empty or not. If the call stack is empty, based on its algorithm and the priority that it gives to job queue and task queue, is going to pull each of the functions and going to put that into call stack, execute it, take it out from the call stack. That's how the overall thing works. We already know about it. If you have missed the event loop session, I would request you to go through it. Not only that, but the entire asynchronous JavaScript module, you will learn a lot. All right, so we know now how web APIs work under the hood. Now it's time that we start looking into some of the core web APIs. Now, hey guys, we have already looked into DOM, events, set timeout, set interval, fetch, enough of console log. All these things we have already looked into in 40 days of JavaScript. So I'm not going to repeat them once again. It will be really boring to repeat them. You can always look back to my older sessions to learn about DOM, to learn about console, to learn about fetch, the timer, learn about events and everything. Now let's focus on some of the interesting ones, some of the fun one. So I have a few fun ones. For example, copying to clipboards, managing the storage, geolocation, notification, eyedropper, and I can talk about plenty of others that I'm going to show you in a bit. So let's go and see like how easily we can pick any of these web APIs and start working on it. Would you believe if I tell you that there are more than 100 web APIs available for you to use? Of course, some of them are experimental, but most of them that you can use in your application, actual application, are supported by multiple browsers and multiple browser versions. If you come to this page given by MDN, you will see that each of the web APIs and their descriptions are categorized alphabetically. I can keep scrolling down to this page. Looks like never ending. And what is beautiful thing about it, like you can go inside any of these web APIs, for example, Vibration API, go to its details, learn about it, see the browser compatibility. At the bottom also, you can see the browser compatibility in details. And another way that you can verify the browser compatibility by going to caniuse.com, and after coming here just type say one of the API name, Vibration API. You see here. Now you know like on Chrome browser from 30 it is supported. Similarly, what is happening on the mobile devices and where and all it supports, where and all the supports are not there. So you know whether this particular API you can use based on your user base. For example, the vibration API is a method to access the vibration mechanism of your phone or your devices. Now that support is not there in Safari. If your user base is mostly on Safari, you won't be using this until unless you have something called a polyfill. Polyfill, which is an equivalent implementation not provided by your browser, but like you and me, a developer have developed and then given it to the community so that wherever there is a gap, this particular feature can be used accordingly, right? So that's what the polyfill is. Now, for each of these web APIs that are listed over here, you can check whether it can be used on your environment or the customer environment, and accordingly you can make use of that. Like that, let's start picking up some of the web APIs and see how they work. First one we're going to do is a clipboard API. First one, copy to clipboard. This can be achieved using a clipboard web API. The clipboard web APIs allows web pages to read from or write to users clipboard. It's just like doing Control C and Control V. So modern clipboard API methods are asynchronous and they return promises, and we'll be using them to achieve that functionality. When can you use that? Of course, when you want to provide a function like copying coupon code, and there is a coupon code and there is a copy icon beside it. Click on the icon, the coupon code gets copied. Then allow users to copy shareable links, copy generated password, write a copy to clipboard button for code snippet. All these are different use cases, and that is where you can use the copy to clipboard method. Okay, so this is an implementation of copy to clipboard. We're getting into the code, but before that, let's see the implementation. Here is a text area which says hello from tapaScript. Now, if I do copy to clipboard, I get text copied to clipboard. If I now just open up my debugger, go to console and paste it using Control V, I'm seeing hello from tapaScript is coming here. That means it was copied successfully, and that's the reason I'm able to paste it. Let's go ahead and look into the code, what is happening over here. In the HTML that you see, it's very straightforward. I have this text area and it says hello to tapaScript. I'm removing that extra S from there. After the text area, you have a new line break, and then there is a button with an ID says copy button and say copy to clipboard. And there is a status message. Once the copying is done, we are showing the status message in the green color saying the text copied successfully. A very simple HTML. Probably you are already guessing that using this ID, I'll be taking this button into my JavaScript, and I'm going to call the browser's web API for copy to clipboard. Let's see that. For that, I have clip.js file, which I have already loaded into this HTML. I'll go to clip.js file. First, I'm getting the copy button using this. Then I'm having the text area and then the status message. Copy button needs a click handler. I'm attaching a listener over here, and this is where the fun begins. Over here, do you see something called a navigator.clipboard.write text? Navigator. Where do you get navigator? If I go to browser, go to my command prompt, I can type navigator over here. How can I type navigator over here? Who is giving me? Navigator is an object given by browser itself. If you expand, you will get multiple different attributes for different usage. On navigator, there is an object called clipboard. You see over here, this is a clipboard. This is an object. If I expand this object, it has multiple methods. For example, it has a method called read, it has a method called read text, it has write and write text. The difference between read and read text, write and write text is one is synchronous method, work synchronously, another is asynchronous method, work asynchronously. we should be using the asynchronous version of it always, because we don't want to block anything. Let the asynchronous call execute, and whenever it is done, we will get the promises to resolve. That's it. So that's the reason we use write text, the asynchronous version of it. And as it is an asynchronous call, we have to use await. And as we are using await, of course, this particular function, the handler function on the click, we have to use the async keyword. You know this from the async await video, async await module and the sessions already. Now, what we are doing over here, first thing from text area, whatever user have entered, we are reading that particular text and then writing that text into the clipboard. If you read this from left to right, it is just like plain English. You are writing navigator.clipboard.write text, and then you're passing the text, means you are writing this text into the clipboard. You can even read this text from the clipboard. From that time, you have to do navigator.clipboard.read text. That will return the text that is written on the clipboard. Okay, but in most of the cases, write text is the method that we'll be using, because once it is copied to the clipboard, now you can go anywhere on a text editor or wherever you want, your code editor, you can just do Control V, right click or paste, all these things that you can do. Okay, so this is the line that is going to do the magic for you. Now, one thing that I have not written here intentionally, but I want to call that out. Not all the browser may support clipboard. You will go to caniuse.com. Coming over here, you will write clipboard. And once you enter, so there is a synchronous clipboard API and there is an asynchronous clipboard API. We are dealing with asynchronous clipboard API, and here we can see what is the browser support. Now you are seeing that on IE, Internet Explorer, which is like old era, old age, there it is not supported, but on the rest of the browser it is supported. There might be certain folks who still love IE, Internet Explorer, have not moved to Edge or Chrome or Safari or Firefox. You have to still handle the situation for them. For them, navigator.clipboard will not be available. So for that reason, you have to always make sure to have conditions like this. So what I am saying here, if navigator.clipboard is not existing, not found, maybe this code we are executing on the Internet Explorer browser and we don't found, we are putting a warning saying Clipboard API not supported on this browser, and we can directly return from here. So in this case, what will happen if we are executing this on a browser where clipboard is not supported? I am not going to execute anything further. Or I can throw an exception from here, error from here, and handle it over here as an error message, show that error message in the red saying that, hey, your browser doesn't support it. So any web API you use, you always make sure that the availability of that web API on your browser or the support of that web API on your browser is there or not. If not there, please handle that situation gracefully. That's the standard. That's the way you should be moving forward. Okay, so I have showed it for clipboard. For rest of it, same thing that you need to do. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's go to the next web API, which is storage. Up next, let's understand about the storage, especially the local storage and the session storage and the web APIs related to that. What you're seeing on the screen is a theme switcher. So I can toggle the theme, see, light, dark, I like dark theme, let it be dark. Let's see the code and let's see how we are utilizing the local storage part of the thing. This is a very simple HTML again. It has a button, which is the toggle theme, and it shows what is the current theme. Right now, the current theme that we initialize with is the light, right? But on the click on this button, we'll be able to toggle the theme from light to dark, dark to light. For that purpose, this button has an ID called toggle theme. And now we can get this button into our JavaScript. That's how we are getting it, and then can add a click listener over here so that on click on the button we can do something with it. Now there is something called a local storage, again an object, but this time this object is added to the window object, browser's window object. This local storage will be there. So if you are working on a client side browser, the client side browser window object will have local storage. The local storage will have methods like set item, get item, etc. to set the things on your browser's local storage or to read from the local storage. Okay. Now this browser local storage, where exactly it exists and how we can see the value that we are setting and getting. Let's take a look into that. Once you come to your browser, please come to the application tab. On application tab, at the left side, you will find something called a storage. Inside storage, you will have local storage, you will have session storage, you have extension storage, IndexedDB, blah, blah, blah things. But now we will be discussing only about the local storage and the session storage, because IndexedDB, cookies, all these things require a different session altogether. And these are the two things are very related to the web programming and the web APIs that we do day in, day out. Now, inside local storage, you are finding something looks like an URL, isn't it? Yes, because each of the storage, whether it's a local storage or the session storage, has something called a scope and a lifetime. And that is where they differ. That is the difference between local storage and the session storage. The scope of the local storage is per origin or the per domain. That's why we are seeing here origin is my local host. So on this domain, the storage allocated to me as part of local storage will be available under this. What is the lifetime of it? It persists for the lifetime until unless it is cleared manually. So if I close this browser tab or close this browser, if I come back later point in time, whatever will be stored inside this local storage for this domain will still be persisted next time as well. But in case of session storage scope is per tab or per window session. Okay, that is the scope. We are going to see an example soon. Now, what is the lifetime of a session storage? The lifetime of the session storage is it will be cleared when the tab is closed. That's why you call session. It is there for only one session. What are the primary use cases of it? Of course, one is we are seeing here, right? The theme switcher. And how is it working? Whenever I am clicking on this toggle theme, I am turning this theme to dark. How am I turning this theme to dark? I must be doing something with the CSS for sure. I might be adding a class called dark into the body and making the background color as dark and the foreground text color as white. And again, if I'm clicking on it, I might be removing that dark CSS from the body so that it turn back to again white background and the black text. That's a simple logic, but I want to persist it so that next time when I open this browser, whatever the mode I am living with, I'll be come back to that. So if I click on it, it turns to dark. If I take this URL, open a new tab altogether, and I go over there, I'll find it in the dark only. It's a completely new browser window. It means that it's persisted whatever I had selected as my theme. How is this persistence happening? If I do F12, come back to application, local storage over here, I'm seeing that there is a theme called dark got added. If I click on this again, I'm seeing that theme called light has got added. In this case, if I close this browser, come back to this dark one again and just refresh, it will become light because whatever value I had set in that instance of the browser window, it will reflect here because same local storage being shared across multiple browser instances for the same domain. That is what is important. Okay. Now, if I go back to the code, I will understand how I am doing it step by step. So first thing, I am trying to read from the local storage using a method called get item. Now in the storage, when you save something, you save it as a key value pair. The key can be any string that you can give, value can be any string that you can actually save. Okay. So I have given a key called theme because we are dealing with theme over here, and I'm checking whether the local storage.get item is having anything for this theme key or not. If it doesn't have, I am making a default value as light. So this is my saved theme. As you are seeing, the saved theme, whether it's a light or dark, whatever it is, I am now assigning to the document.body.className equals to that particular thing. So if it is light, is great, it is the default one. But if it is dark, your body will have a class called dark. And in my HTML, I have already added a style. If body is having a class called dark, then make the background color as this black and foreground color is this white. If body doesn't have dark, it has light, then I'm not setting anything, so it will take the default. That's how it is happening over here. Now, whenever there is a click happen on the toggle button, what I'm seeing over here is like, what is the theme that I have to set to? Because it's a toggle, right? If the current theme is dark, then I have to set it to light. Otherwise, I have to set it to dark. So this is a theme that I have to set to. That theme name I set to the body, and that is what I again set it to the local storage for the same key called theme. And if you want to get it from local storage, you'll be using the same key called theme to get the data. And then of course the text content where I show what is the current theme, what is the dark or the light. That's it. So as we understand the local storage, let's see another example for the session storage. To demonstrate the session storage, let me demonstrate a form where you can store your draft. Sounds amazing, right? On browser itself is bringing you 40 days of JS. Are you seeing what is happening at the right side? On the session storage for this particular domain, there is something called draft, and then whatever I have typed over here, it got saved over here. If I refresh my browser, it is still loading, right? The draft is loading from the session storage. How much time I want to refresh, I can refresh. But if I take the same URL, just open another tab and go to it, I'm not seeing my draft at all. If I go to the application under session storage, I don't see the draft at all. These two are added by maybe some browser extensions. Don't worry about these two. But the one that I had added, draft, I'm not seeing at all. This is why the comparison was coming, right? The scope of local storage is the entire site until unless you clean it manually for lifetime. Session storage for the current tab only. There's a scope lifetime until manually cleared. Local storage will be there. Session storage until the tab closes. Once I close and open it, it's gone. Boom. For local and session storage, the max size is 5 MB, and both local and session storage store the value in the string format. So even if in your code you get an array or object, you have to make sure that you do JSON.stringify to string that particular representation and then store it. Okay, that is good so far. Now let's see some code, like what is happening for the session storage. I have a HTML again, and I have loaded session.js where my JavaScript code is there. All the web APIs call are there. And here, as usual, I have a text area. You can see that. And below that, there is a draft notice, right, where that paragraph is coming. Now, this is the ID of the text area. Excellent. So on typing, I was seeing the things were getting saved. So definitely I would love to get this text area in my JavaScript. That's what I'm getting. And then just like local storage, here also I'm seeing that there is a web API called session storage, and this is also coming from Windows. This is also coming from the window object of browser. Now again, by chance you're using in a node environment, this will fail, right? Both local storage and session storage. Always advisable that you check whether window object present in your environment or not. Then you will be sure that you are running this on a browser, and then you'll be sure that if you're running it on a browser, you will definitely have a session storage in the local storage object in it, right? The support will be there. The same way how we have seen for the clipboard. So first I'm checking whether for the draft key, is there anything in the session storage of my browser? If it is there, you get it and show it below in the draft notice, and also show it inside the text area value. And then on the input of my text area, each key enter on my text area, I'm taking the text area value and replacing it in my session storage for the draft key. That's what we have seen, that in the session storage it was getting saved, and the notice is saying the draft is saved. So if I do the typing here again, I liked it. I can see this. I liked it. Over here, if I refresh it, it will be loading it from here, and you can see the draft is loaded from there. So I hope you understood the difference between the local storage and the session storage. We have seen 3 web APIs, 2 storage API, and 1 clipboard API. Let's see one more. Yes, the next one we are talking about is one of the most used web APIs. It's called geolocation. If you want to detect what is the location of your user's browser, you can do it using the geolocation. If you go to applications like Zomato, Swiggy, Blinkit, or any other e-commerce application, I think you'll get a notification that the application wants to know what's your location. And if you approve, then only you tell that application, hey, this is my location. And what you tell that application is your latitude and the longitude. And taking this latitude and longitude, now there are other libraries or the utilities that a particular app developer can use to identify where you are and what more about your location. Now let's see this application and then we'll get into the code. Here is a button called Get My Location, and then there is a text called Location Info will appear here. Of course, if I click on Get My Location, now I'll be using the web APIs, the Get Location web API, and try to get the location of the user. In this case, it will be my location only. But I cannot randomly get someone's location, right? I have to ask for it. I have to ask for the permission. That's what you need to do. So once I click on it, it's saying locating, and here it is asking that this app want to know your location. Do you want to allow it? Allow only this time or never allow? If you do never allow, it is never going to ask again unless you go to the browser setting and change it, or allow anytime that you visit this site, or allow only this time. Let's cancel it. Okay, let's deny it. You see, user denied the request. I'm handling these cases. Okay, but as it is a safe application, let me try to get this. And as I've denied, you can see over here, location access denied. I can now say, hey, go ahead and always allow, from here. So this particular thing, that pop-up will never come here. So now I do get location. What you are seeing, latitude and longitude. You're seeing my location basically. Now taking this latitude, longitude, you can plot a map. You can do further implementation, use the utility libraries to get more about the location, do whatever you want with that, right? But let's see the code first. Again, a very simple HTML where I have loaded a geo.js where I have used the web API. We'll be going there in a bit. And it has a button, as you have seen, say get my location, and a paragraph which says location info will appear over here. So I need both this button and the paragraph in my geo.js. I'm getting it over here at the top. On the button, I have added a click handler. And here you're seeing the same thing like clipboard. The geolocation web API resides inside the navigator object. And again, you can go to caniuse.com, give geolocation, see the support. If you find okay, support is not there in certain browser, you want to handle that, you can always do things like this. If navigator.geolocation not exist, in that case, you say geolocation is not supported on your device and you return from here. In case it exists, we were showing that it is locating, right? Your geolocation is coming. And here all the magic starts. Once it is located, I told most of the web APIs are what? Asynchronous. So that means there will be some mechanism, some callback mechanism through which you can be told about this location. Correct, na? So here what we're doing, navigator.getLocation has a method. This object has a method called getCurrentPosition. In getCurrentPosition, there is a callback. Once the position is available, then you get the position. From that position, there is a coordinates attribute. That's another object. From that coordinates, you can get the latitude and longitude. So in this position, apart from latitude and longitude, there are other items that you can explore. Once you get this latitude and longitude, I am printing over here, you can do further operation. Maybe after getting this, instead of doing this, you can do something like this. Output.innerHTML, you can go to google.com maps and pass the latitude and longitude and open this in Google Maps. And in case it is not able to fetch it, there will be an error. In case user is denying the access to the geolocation, there will be an error. And then based on the error code, you can handle that error. Here, if the error code is permission denied, we say user denied the permission. If position is not available, we say the location is not available. If it is timed out, we say timed out. If we don't know, then it is unknown error, right? That's how I'm handling. So see how simple the things are, right? The moment you know, like there is a geolocation, you go to MDN site to get more into it, like what are the different methods and methodologies it provides, and using that you can just do magic. I hope this was clear to you as well. Believe me guys, I can keep going about implementing these web APIs. This is my fun topic, and this is not from now. It's been probably 3-4 years that I have been exploring these web APIs, but I don't want to take too much time in this session to explore each of these web APIs available. Rather, if this spark any interest and curiosity in you, I want you to explore that. Now, how can you do this? How can you go about it? For example, if you want to check out this notification API, please come to MDN. This link is there in the description of this video. On the notification API, coming to this description, if you just come at the bottom, it says you have to add a button in your HTML. Take that button in your JavaScript. You can do document.getElement by ID, pass the button's ID, you got the button, add a click handler, and then do notification.request permission. This permission gives you whether user is ready to receive notification on their browser or not. This is how you will be getting it. Allow notification, never allow. You must be seeing this already coming from many of the application. Now you can implement this in your application. If allow notification happen, then this promise will resolve with a value that you can check and do further thing. What are the further things you can do? At the bottom, you can go over this specifications method, utilize them to build something cool. For example, there is a constructor called notification. If you instantiate that, it is going to give you a notification object. On the notification object, there are multiple items are there. There is a body, there is a close to close the notification, there is data, there is icon. You can read about the documentation of each of these things and start building something really cool on the browser itself. That's how I have learned. Following this documentation, that's what I'm teaching you, how to follow this documentation to try out and build something really cool. Similarly, if you want to explore file API, you can go inside file API. There are straightforward code is over here, like how can you experiment it out. You can add this div and input in your HTML, this CSS, and then see you are accessing that input field and the output from here. And on the change of your input field, you are getting the file over here and doing things using the file API, right? So there are detailed documentation on MDN website for you to do. Now, where can you try it out? That is where I want to introduce to you a project, an open source project where you can contribute if you're interested in web APIs that you have just now learned. What is this project about? There is a project called Web APIs playground. And the link to this project is again in the description of this video. You can go ahead and check out. This is created by myself and many others developer who are really enthusiastic about web APIs and open source, of course. This project is available as an open source for you to go check out, read code, copy code, use it, or to contribute. And today's session's task is exactly that. I want each of you who are interested, who wants to complete 40 days of JavaScript in a high note, please contribute to this open source project. How to do it, I'm going to tell you now. But let us first see what is this project about. This is a playground, web APIs playground, where a bunch of web APIs are listed here with their demo, live demo, and the documentation. Some of the web APIs we have already seen, like copy to clipboard and etc. Right? But there are many more, and you can add more by contributing to this particular project. Let's see a couple of them. For example, full screen API. If I want to see, just click on try it. And this is going to tell you here itself that this particular API is supported on your browser or not. If it is supported, you will see the live preview. If it is not supported, you won't see the live preview. You will see a message saying that, hey, it's not supported on your browser. Now this is about the full screen. So I can go full screen now. See, if I click on this go full screen, I will see this guy see on full screen. Okay, little bit scary, but yeah, it works. I come out of the full screen. From here, you can go to the support. You can click on support. See this particular full screen API is supported or not. Is amazing, right? It's going to the full screen directly on can I use. You can also read more about the documentation that will go to the MDN site for the full screen API. It will show you like how it works under the hood, or you can directly get into the source code of it. Here you can read more about how the full screen API works. Okay, so this is how the full screen API works. If the full screen API is not there, then you say the full screen API is not supported. So a bunch of code is already available over here for you to look into, copy, and maybe you want to use in your project. Let's see some of the other web APIs. For example, the battery API. Like, what's the battery status? If I say get battery status, it says 100%. It's actually 100% right now. Okay, and it's charging also. It's showing that. And here you have the creator name and the Twitter handle as well. So if you contribute, your name and your Twitter handle, everything will be published. There is web speech API, another very strong one. Now if I want to create a transcript of what I'm talking about, let's do that. Start listening. Hey, hello, I am creating this video. Are you seeing that it is getting written over there as a transcript? And I think it is picking up things quite well. There is a bug that I see, that there was a gap and the text is now getting written in the beginning. Do you want to fix that bug so that text, what I'm saying later, can get appended at the end, not in the beginning? See, this is how things work. You can stop it, of course. So I hope you enjoy doing this, and these are our contributors. They're great people. Salute to them for taking their time and doing it. Now let me tell you how can you also contribute to this project. So let's go to GitHub for this project. You can click over here. That will open up this project. It's called Web APIs Playground. If you like this project, please give it a star. Already 300 plus people have given a star. Thanks to them. And then scroll down. There is an extensive documentation written for it on how to run this project locally. So go ahead, do an npm install, and npm run dev. You can run this project locally, and whatever I've showed you, you can see each of these things over here. If you find any difficulty, I'm on the tapaScript Discord. Come there, ping me. The Discord link is again in the description of this video. I am going to see you in the Discord so that I can help you in doing your probably the first open source contribution using this project. Guys, don't miss this opportunity. Now, once you set this up, there is a documentation again saying that how to add demo. You see this over here? Click on this. Just follow this step by step. This npm install, npm run dev you have already done after setting up. Then first thing you have to do, if you are interested in adding a demo of a web API, first check whether that particular demo has been already added or not. If it is added, don't add, because we don't want duplicates. For example, battery status API is already there, resize API is already there, full screen API is already there. Don't add those. Rather, add something from your MDN documentation. MDN has a bunch of things that are not there as a demo in that open source project. Think about it. MDN is having documentation of each of these things, but MDN doesn't have demo for everything. Now we are creating a playground where the demo of everything is available, and that is also pointing to this MDN documentation. Now we want to fix the other way around. You can pick up, for example, navigation API, and you want to create a demo of it on the web API playground. Great, go to navigation API, read about it or what it does. Okay, I understand how to create now using navigation web API. Now I'll go to this project. First, I'll create an issue on the GitHub because I want to contribute to the open source project. And this is the first thing that you should be doing, is to create a feature request. Click on this, follow the step, create a feature request, and then you get started. To get started, of course, you need to create a branch, and we have already told like what should be the pattern of your branch name. Follow that, and then do a command called npm run gen demo. What is this beautiful thing going to do? It is going to ask you a few questions. What is your name? What is your Twitter handle? Can you give a demo name? Can you give a demo ID? All these questions. So something like this, what is your demo ID? Geolocation. We just now learned about geolocation, right? So let's imagine that I'm adding geolocation demo to this web API playground. So I am giving underscore geo underscore location underscore. This should be something unique. Then geolocation demo is the title. Then a small description of the geolocation demo. Then please provide a demo folder name. Provide something useful related to this demo. I'm providing geo-location. Give us the feature URL from caniuse.com. I have taught you about caniuse.com. So you go to caniuse.com, search for your feature, give that particular link over here, then tell us your name, tell us your Twitter handle, your email ID. It is going to auto generate certain code for you, certain folders for you, and will tell you that, hey, go inside this folder and start coding your web API demo. That's what is required. Once you do it, once you complete it, and we merge your pull request, we make sure that we give you a shout out on social media. We make sure that you get added in our contributors board over here along with all these awesome people, and we make sure that your contribution also gets added over here. It also become alive on our web API playground. Are you excited to do this? I want you to do this. That's the reason I'm pushing for it. Please go ahead and try. So hey people, that's all for today. I hope you found it useful. I hope you found it something new. In case you were not exploring about web APIs, now you know to explore about web APIs, and as you know the fundamentals of JavaScript quite well from the previous sessions, I hope that you'll be able to utilize most of these things to build something really, really nice and really, really cool for your upcoming side projects or the actual projects. I'll leave you with that thought. Now, what is pending? As we're done with the session number 37, day 37, we are now remaining with day 38, 39, 40. 38, we're going to talk about a little bit of internal of JavaScript, garbage collection, different garbage collection, algorithm, etc. 39, we are going to talk about JavaScript interviews, how to prepare for it, how to be confident about JavaScript interviews. I'm sure that you're already confident about JavaScript from 40 days of JavaScript, but I want to make you confident about interviews. And then the 40 is a project. With that, 40 days of JavaScript will come to an end. Thanks for being with it so far. Thanks for supporting it so far. Thanks for subscribing to tapaScript, and you really awesome. If you have not done it yet, please subscribe to tapaScript. Let's learn fundamentals. Let's learn programming together, and let's learn it well.